The 1940s were a time of significant change in the American auto industry, marked by a shift away from wartime production and back to consumer vehicles. The decade was marked by innovative designs and new technologies, but it also produced some cars that left much to be desired. Here are 15 of the worst and dumbest American cars of the 1940s, showcasing the mistakes, poor designs, and engineering failures that made these cars infamous.
Dear viewer, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Thanks for your support.
Number 15. The 1941 Pontiac Streamliner was introduced as a larger, more luxurious offering in Pontiac's lineup. It was meant to embody sleek, modern design principles, but unfortunately, it failed to live up to its name and struggled to compete in terms of innovation, performance, and handling. While it carried an air of sophistication, it ultimately suffered from significant design and mechanical flaws that diminished its appeal. Despite being named Streamliner, the car's design was far from streamlined. Its wide, heavy body made it appear bulky rather than sleek, which contradicted the growing trend toward more aerodynamic, futuristic designs in the 1940s. The car was marked by oversized fenders and a long, imposing frame that made it look cumbersome. Its sheer size detracted from any sense of agility or sportiness, which many customers expected from a car with a name like Streamliner. Inside, the Streamliner offered a basic interior that lacked the upscale feel its price point suggested. While it was comfortable enough for the time, it didn't introduce any cutting-edge materials or design elements to distinguish it from other models. With few interior innovations, it fell behind competitors that were starting to add more advanced dashboard designs and accessories. The Streamliner was powered by a 6-cylinder engine that struggled to move its heavy body with any sense of urgency. The weight of the car combined with its modest engine output led to sluggish acceleration and lackluster driving dynamics. The excessive weight of the vehicle made it difficult to maneuver. Its handling felt sluggish and imprecise, which was exacerbated by outdated suspension technology that couldn't keep up with competitors that were already pushing for more refined driving experiences. The combination of a large, heavy frame and an underpowered engine resulted in poor fuel economy. At a time when gas was still relatively cheap, this wasn't as much of a deal breaker, but it certainly didn't help the car's reputation for practicality. Although the name Streamliner suggested a leap forward in modernity, the car's technology and design didn't reflect this aspiration. In the early 1940s, buyers were starting to look for cars that offered a more advanced experience, and the Streamliner's outdated features left it looking old-fashioned. In a market where other manufacturers, like Ford and Chevrolet, were rolling out more affordable, innovative models, the Pontiac Streamliner failed to differentiate itself. Its lack of innovation, combined with its higher price point, made it less attractive to consumers. The Streamliner's bulky frame was becoming less desirable as the American market started to favor more nimble, lighter vehicles. This made the car feel out of step with emerging trends toward efficiency and ease of handling. Pontiac had the chance to define its brand with the Streamliner, but missed the mark. Its overambitious name clashed with a design that didn't live up to expectations, and this failure ultimately reflected poorly on Pontiac's attempts to modernize its lineup. Like many automakers, Pontiac faced difficulties in adapting to the post-depression market while gearing up for war. The Streamliner's inability to capture the public's interest exemplifies the broader struggles of many manufacturers during this period. Despite the Streamliner's underwhelming performance, Pontiac kept the nameplate until the mid-1940s. However, the Streamliner name never truly became associated with any of the innovation or sleekness that the brand may have initially intended. The 1941 Pontiac Streamliner was a car that simply did not live up to its promise. Its bulky design, poor handling, and lackluster performance made it feel out of place in an increasingly competitive market. While the name suggested cutting-edge design and performance, the Streamliner was a step back in terms of innovation. As a result, it became a forgettable model in Pontiac's history, overshadowed by cars that offered more excitement, efficiency, and modernity. Number 14. The 1947 Packard Clipper was introduced during a time when luxury cars were regaining popularity following World War II. While the Clipper name had a strong legacy, the 1947 model was a disappointment in many ways. Despite being positioned as a luxury vehicle, it struggled with significant build quality issues, mechanical reliability problems, and styling that was seen as too conservative, especially as the automotive industry began to embrace more innovative and bold designs. The 1947 Packard Clipper continued the pre-war design trends, which included rounded edges, a sloping hood, and relatively plain ornamentation. While this design may have been acceptable before the war, it felt outdated by 1947 as consumers were starting to favor sleeker, more modern looks. After the war, competitors like Cadillac and Chrysler were introducing more exciting, streamlined designs, but the Clipper retained a conservative and unexciting aesthetic. This conservative approach didn't appeal to a market eager for fresh and forward-thinking design. Inside, the Clipper was comfortable and well-appointed, but it didn't introduce any significant innovation in terms of materials or design. It retained a traditional layout that didn't excite buyers looking for something new and luxurious in the post-war era. While some manufacturers were beginning to introduce new technologies and conveniences, the Clipper didn't offer much in terms of advanced features. It felt old-fashioned, and this was a major drawback in a rapidly modernizing market. The Clipper, while advertised as a luxury car, suffered from inconsistent build quality. Reports of fit and finish issues, rattling parts, and mechanical failures were not uncommon. These problems tarnished Packard's reputation for luxury and precision, making the car feel less upscale than it was intended to be. The 1947 Clipper was notorious for mechanical issues, particularly with its suspension and engine. These problems were exacerbated by the fact that many of the components were carryovers from pre-war models, meaning they were outdated and prone to failure. While Packard was known for producing powerful engines in the past, the Clipper's engine felt underpowered given its size and weight. Its acceleration was sluggish, and it didn't offer the smooth, refined performance expected from a luxury car. The Clipper's suspension and handling were also lackluster, especially when compared to its competitors. Its large, heavy frame made it difficult to maneuver, and the ride quality was rougher than it should have been for a car in this segment. By 1947, Cadillac and Chrysler had started to produce cars with more innovative styling, better performance, and advanced features. The Clipper's conservative design and mechanical shortcomings left it lagging behind. Buyers who were willing to spend on a luxury car were more likely to gravitate toward Cadillac's sleek designs or Lincoln's more advanced models, leaving Packard struggling to maintain its competitive edge. The post-war market was moving toward bold designs that symbolized a break from the past, and buyers wanted vehicles that felt modern and exciting. The Clipper, with its carryover design and conservative approach, didn't tap into these trends. As a result, it seemed out of step with the forward-thinking mentality of post-war consumers. The shortcomings of the 1947 Clipper were symptomatic of Packard's larger struggles during the late 1940s. The company had been a leader in the luxury segment for decades, but by the late 1940s, it was losing its edge. The Clipper, rather than solidifying Packard's position as a luxury leader, highlighted the company's inability to innovate and adapt to changing market demands. Packard had a reputation for high-quality, luxurious vehicles, but the Clipper's quality control issues in conservative design eroded this perception. It contributed to the overall decline of the Packard brand in the coming years, as the company failed to keep pace with competitors that were investing heavily in modernization. The 1947 Packard Clipper represents a missed opportunity for the brand during a critical time in the automotive industry. Though it carried the Packard name, which had been synonymous with luxury, the Clipper's conservative styling, mechanical issues, and poor build quality made it less desirable than its competitors. Its outdated design and lack of innovation left it outpaced by rivals like Cadillac, which were setting new standards in luxury and performance. Ultimately, the Clipper's failure to impress both in terms of design and reliability contributed to Packard's gradual decline in the post-war era. Number 13. The 1940 Lincoln Zephyr was once considered a groundbreaking design, introduced in the mid-1930s as a futuristic, streamlined luxury car. However, by 1940, the Zephyr was beginning to show its age. Its once revolutionary V12 engine had become outdated, inefficient, and costly to maintain, while the car's overall design failed to keep pace with the rapidly evolving automotive market. The Zephyr, which once stood as a symbol of modernity, was now viewed as an outdated luxury vehicle that struggled to compete with more refined offerings from competitors. The Zephyr was originally designed with an aerodynamic, streamlined body that had been ahead of its time in the mid-1930s. However, by 1940, this design had lost its futuristic appeal and was beginning to look dated. Its rounded, flowing lines were no longer the cutting-edge symbol of innovation they had once been. As automakers began shifting towards sleeker, more angular designs. Despite its once advanced appearance, the Zephyr had a heavy, bulky body that didn't match the sleek and nimble designs emerging in the luxury market. Its weight and size also contributed to its poor handling and performance, making it cumbersome to drive. The interior of the 1940 Lincoln Zephyr, though luxurious for its time, didn't keep up with consumer expectations by the early 1940s. Competitors like Cadillac and Packard were beginning to offer more advanced features and more modern, spacious cabin designs, while the Zephyr's interior felt somewhat outdated. Its controls and dashboard layout reflected its mid-1930s origins and lacked the modernity buyers were seeking. The 1940 Lincoln Zephyr was powered by a V12 engine, which was a carryover from its earlier versions. While a V12 engine sounded impressive on paper, the reality was that this engine was outdated, inefficient, and expensive to maintain. The V12 engine, while providing smooth performance, was incredibly inefficient, which was a growing concern for buyers as they looked for more fuel-efficient vehicles. The Zephyr's gas mileage was notably poor, especially compared to more modern engines being produced by competitors like Cadillac and Buick, which had more advanced V8 engines. The complexity of the V12 engine meant that repairs and maintenance were costly, and finding mechanics capable of working on it wasn't easy. This led to frustration for owners, as the Zephyr's mechanical issues required frequent and expensive trips to the shop. This wasn't an ideal situation for a luxury vehicle that was expected to offer both performance and reliability. Despite having a V12 engine, the Zephyr was not known for its performance. It was heavy and sluggish, which detracted from its driving dynamics. In an era when buyers were expecting more refinement and better handling from their luxury cars, the Zephyr fell short. The weight of the vehicle, combined with its outdated suspension system, led to poor handling characteristics. It was difficult to maneuver, and the ride quality wasn't up to par with the more sophisticated offerings from other luxury brands. The heavy steering and body roll made it feel like a relic of an earlier era. By 1940, Cadillac, Chrysler, and Packard were producing more modern luxury vehicles with better engines, superior styling, and improved handling. The Zephyr, once seen as a futuristic marvel, was now struggling to keep up with these advancements. Its outdated design and mechanical inefficiencies made it less competitive in a segment where buyers expected cutting-edge technology and performance. For a luxury car, the Zephyr didn't live up to expectations in terms of refinement and features. Buyers who were willing to spend on a high-end vehicle in 1940 were more likely to choose Cadillac, which offered not only superior performance, but also a more luxurious and modern experience. The mechanical issues with the V12 engine and the growing perception that the Zephyr was outdated hurt Lincoln's reputation. The car's inability to keep up with changing consumer tastes and technological advancements made it seem like a relic from an earlier era, which was not what buyers wanted in a luxury vehicle. The 1940 Zephyr marked the beginning of the end for Lincoln's use of the V12 engine. The inefficiency and high maintenance costs made it clear that the V12 was no longer a viable option for luxury vehicles in the 1940s. This was a significant shift for Lincoln as the company began transitioning to more modern and efficient V8 engines in subsequent years. The 1940 Lincoln Zephyr, once a symbol of futuristic design and engineering, had become an outdated and inefficient luxury car by the start of the 1940s. Its outdated V12 engine was a major liability, with poor fuel efficiency and high maintenance costs that frustrated owners. The Zephyr's design, which had once been groundbreaking, no longer excited buyers, who were turning to more modern, streamlined luxury vehicles. Number 12. The 1940 Cadillac Series 72 was part of Cadillac's luxury lineup, aimed at providing high-end features and a prestigious driving experience. However, the Series 72 was not as well received as Cadillac had hoped. Its enormous size and outdated technology made it a cumbersome vehicle to drive, and its fuel-guzzling nature was a drawback even in the luxury market. While Cadillac was known for innovation and luxury, the Series 72 felt like a misstep, failing to stand out in a market that was embracing newer, more streamlined designs and technological advancements. The Cadillac Series 72 was excessively large, even by luxury car standards of the time. While size was often associated with luxury, the Series 72 took it to an extreme, making the car difficult to drive and handle. Its sheer bulk made it feel unwieldy on the road, especially in comparison to more nimble competitors. Due to its size and weight, the Series 72 was hard to steer, especially at low speeds. This made city driving and parking a particular challenge, something that prospective luxury buyers were not eager to deal with. At a time when smoother handling and improved drivability were becoming priorities for consumers, the Series 72 felt outdated. The styling of the Series 72 was conservative and didn't push any boundaries. Cadillac had been known for setting trends in automotive design, but the Series 72 felt stuck in the past. It carried over many of the design elements from the pre-war era, failing to capture the attention of buyers looking for something fresh and modern. The exterior design was boxy and lacked the streamlined, flowing lines that were becoming more popular in the late 1930s and early 1940s. It lacked the sleekness of Cadillac's more innovative models, such as the Series 62, and this made it less desirable for buyers who were drawn to Cadillac's reputation for cutting-edge design. The Cadillac Series 72 was notorious for its poor fuel economy. Its large, heavy body combined with an inefficient V8 engine resulted in terrible gas mileage, even by the standards of the time. While luxury cars weren't expected to be fuel efficient, the Series 72's consumption was excessive, which limited its appeal. The V8 engine, which Cadillac was known for, was powerful but inefficient. It lacked the refinement that newer engines were offering in terms of both power delivery and fuel consumption. Cadillac's V8 engines were still using older technology that lagged behind competitors like Packard, who were offering more advanced engines with better fuel efficiency and performance. The Series 72's suspension was also outdated, resulting in a rough ride, especially on less than perfect roads. Its solid front axle and rear leaf springs were antiquated compared to the independent suspension systems starting to be offered by other luxury brands. As a result, the ride quality didn't live up to the luxury reputation that Cadillac had built for itself. Due to its size and outdated suspension, the Series 72 had poor handling. It wasn't nimble or responsive, making it difficult to drive in tight corners or on narrow roads. This lack of agility was a significant drawback for a luxury vehicle, where comfort and ease of driving were key selling points. The Cadillac Series 72 represented a missed opportunity for Cadillac to maintain its lead in the luxury market. Instead of innovating, Cadillac seemed to be resting on its laurels with the Series 72, offering a vehicle that was large and luxurious, but outdated in almost every other respect. This allowed competitors like Packard and Lincoln to make gains in the market. The Series 72 had limited appeal, and its sales reflected that. Buyers who wanted a Cadillac were more likely to opt for the Series 62, which offered a more modern design and better overall driving experience. The Series 72 failed to carve out a niche, and its overly large, inefficient design made it a poor fit for the evolving tastes of luxury car buyers. The lukewarm reception of the Series 72 helped push Cadillac toward more modern designs and engineering in the post-war era. By the late 1940s and 1950s, Cadillac began introducing more innovative models that helped restore its position as a leader in the luxury car market. The 1940 Cadillac Series 72 failed to live up to Cadillac's reputation for innovation and luxury. Its oversized, cumbersome design made it difficult to drive and inefficient, while its outdated technology and handling failed to keep pace with the advancements being made by competitors. With no standout features to justify its place in Cadillac's lineup, the Series 72 struggled to compete both with other Cadillac models and with luxury offerings from brands like Packard and Chrysler. Its poor fuel economy, outdated suspension, and lackluster design made it feel like a relic in an era when the automotive market was rapidly evolving. Number 11. The 1941 Oldsmobile Dynamic Cruiser was part of Oldsmobile's effort to offer a middle-tier vehicle that combined affordability with a touch of luxury. Unfortunately, the Dynamic Cruiser failed to live up to its name. Released at a time when the auto industry was rapidly evolving, it felt outdated from the start. With clunky handling, a heavy body, and uninspired design, the Dynamic Cruiser failed to deliver the innovation that buyers were looking for. By the time the Dynamic Cruiser was released, automotive design had begun to emphasize sleek, streamlined looks. However, the Dynamic Cruiser was more in line with the bulky conservative designs of the late 1930s. Its exterior was plain, with none of the bold, futuristic elements that other manufacturers like Chrysler and Ford were beginning to introduce. The car's body was heavy and boxy, lacking the elegant curves or smooth lines that characterized many of its contemporaries. The design didn't stand out, which made the Dynamic Cruiser forgettable, particularly at a time when buyers were starting to look for more modern, eye-catching cars. The interior design was equally uninspired. While functional, it didn't offer the luxury features or modern touches that were becoming more common in cars at this price point. Basic materials and a lack of innovative technology left the Dynamic Cruiser feeling utilitarian, failing to impress buyers who expected more from a car in this segment. One of the biggest criticisms of the Dynamic Cruiser was its poor handling. The car was large and difficult to maneuver, with steering that felt unresponsive. This made driving in tight spaces or on winding roads a challenge, which was a significant drawback for drivers looking for comfort and ease of operation. The car's heavy body further contributed to its awkward handling. It wasn't nimble and didn't provide the smooth, controlled driving experience that other cars in its class offered. By 1941, many consumers expected a better balance of size and handling, especially as roads improved and driving became more accessible to a broader population. Despite its size, the Dynamic Cruiser was powered by a modest engine that didn't provide the necessary punch. The standard engine, a 6-cylinder, lacked the power needed to move the car's heavy frame with ease. Acceleration was slow, and the overall driving experience felt sluggish, which was disappointing for a car that carried the name Dynamic. Other manufacturers were introducing more powerful and efficient engines, while Oldsmobile seemed to lag behind. The lack of a powerful engine option further diminished the appeal of the Dynamic Cruiser, especially when compared to competitors offering more robust performance. While the Dynamic Cruiser wasn't expected to be a luxury car, it also didn't offer any standout features that set it apart from its competition. The technology inside was standard for the time, without any of the new innovations that were starting to appear in other vehicles. At a time when features like more advanced radios, heaters, and even rudimentary air conditioning were starting to appear, the Dynamic Cruiser offered a bare-bones experience. This lack of innovation made it feel like a relic from the past rather than a forward-thinking vehicle. Oldsmobile, once known for pushing the envelope with technological advances like the hydromatic transmission, seemed content to play it safe with the Dynamic Cruiser. It didn't offer any groundbreaking technologies or convenience features, further contributing to its status as a forgettable model in Oldsmobile's lineup. The Oldsmobile Dynamic Cruiser found itself struggling to stand out in a highly competitive market. In 1941, car buyers had a range of options, many of which were more innovative and exciting than the Dynamic Cruiser. For instance, Ford and Chevrolet were offering more modern, streamlined designs, while Chrysler and DeSoto were introducing advanced features and more powerful engines. Positioned as a mid-range vehicle, the Dynamic Cruiser didn't have the luxury of the high-end models, nor did it have the affordability of the entry-level cars. It was caught in a no-man's land where it didn't excel at anything in particular, which made it difficult to attract buyers. The Dynamic Cruiser's name suggested a car that was innovative, stylish, and exciting, but it failed to deliver on any of these promises. The lack of dynamism in both its performance and design led to disappointment among buyers, who expected more from a car with such a promising moniker. The 1941 Oldsmobile Dynamic Cruiser was a car that failed to live up to its name. It offered clunky handling a heavy, outdated design, and lacked the performance to make it competitive in a rapidly evolving automotive market. While other manufacturers were pushing the boundaries of style and technology, the dynamic cruiser felt like a step backward, with nothing dynamic or innovative about it. Number 10. The 1949 Hudson Commodore was designed as a premium vehicle aimed at providing a luxurious driving experience in the post-war market. While the Hudson brand had a reputation for innovation and performance, particularly with its step-down design, the Commodore failed to live up to expectations. Its overly large size, awkward proportions, and lack of refinement undermined its premium positioning. Despite Hudson's efforts to compete with higher-end models from Cadillac, Buick, and Chrysler, the Commodore was an underwhelming option for buyers seeking elegance and performance. One of the Commodore's most significant drawbacks was its sheer size. The car was big, but not in a way that conveyed elegance. Instead, its bulk made it feel clumsy and awkward. While the wide, low-slung body was part of Hudson's attempt to offer a step-down design for increased stability, it contributed to the car's ungainly look. The car's proportions were not cohesive. The long body paired with a comparatively small cabin area created a design that looked unbalanced. Competitors like Cadillac and Buick were producing cars with sleek lines and better proportioned designs, while the Commodore seemed out of step with emerging trends in luxury automotive styling. Despite its premium aspirations, the Commodore's exterior design lacked the upscale flair seen in competitors. The car was devoid of the graceful, sweeping curves or distinctive chrome accents that define luxury vehicles of the era. This plainness in design detracted from its appeal as a high-end model. Hudson's design philosophy didn't evolve quickly enough in the post-war era. While brands like Chrysler and Cadillac were embracing more futuristic, streamlined designs, the Commodore's appearance remained stuck in the early 1940s. It lacked the visual excitement that many buyers were beginning to expect from a premium car. The 1949 Hudson Commodore was equipped with either an inline six-cylinder or eight-cylinder engine, but neither offered the robust performance needed for a car of its size. The six-cylinder engine in particular was underpowered, resulting in sluggish acceleration and an overall lack of excitement when driving. The car's significant weight further hampered its performance. Even the eight-cylinder engine, which was more powerful than the six, struggled to deliver the kind of smooth, swift driving experience that buyers expected from a premium car. Compared to the powerful V8 engines offered by Cadillac and Lincoln, the Commodore's powertrain fell short. While the step-down design offered improved stability by lowering the car's center of gravity, it didn't translate into nimble handling. The Commodore felt heavy and unresponsive, especially when maneuvering in tight spaces or taking turns. This lack of agility was a significant downside, particularly for buyers looking for a comfortable, smooth ride in a luxury car. Even though the step-down design provided some benefits in terms of stability, the overall driving experience wasn't as refined or precise as competitors. The suspension was adequate, but didn't absorb bumps or rough terrain as effectively as other luxury models, making the ride less comfortable than it should have been. The Commodore didn't introduce any groundbreaking technologies or features that could help justify its premium price tag. While it was equipped with standard features like a radio, heater, and basic upholstery, these amenities were not enough to distinguish it from mid-range vehicles. At a time when luxury cars were starting to offer features like power windows, advanced radio systems, and improved air conditioning, the Commodore lacked any comparable innovations. This absence of cutting-edge technology made the car feel less premium and more like a glorified version of Hudson's mid-range models. Inside, the Commodore didn't offer the luxury touches one would expect from a high-end car. The materials used for the interior were decent but not exceptional. The dashboard and controls were functional, but they lacked the sophistication and polish of competitors like Cadillac, which boasted more elaborate, stylish interiors. The interior layout of the Commodore was simple and utilitarian rather than luxurious. While the seats were comfortable, they didn't provide the plushness or elegance found in other premium cars. The overall cabin design felt more appropriate for a lower-tier model, contributing to the sense that the Commodore wasn't living up to its luxury billing. The 1949 Hudson Commodore was a misstep in Hudson's attempt to enter the premium market. Its large size and awkward proportions made it less appealing, and it lacked the performance, elegance, and features that luxury car buyers were seeking. Outclassed by competitors like Cadillac and Chrysler, the Commodore struggled to maintain relevance in a rapidly evolving automotive market. Its uninspired design, underwhelming performance. Number 9. The 1940 Ford V8 Deluxe was an iteration of Ford's popular V8-powered cars, which had been groundbreaking in the early 1930s when Henry Ford introduced affordable 8-cylinder engines to the mass market. However, by 1940, the Deluxe version felt outdated in several key areas. While the Ford V8 Deluxe continued to offer the affordability and simple engineering that had made the Ford brand a household name, its styling and performance had stagnated, leaving it unable to keep up with the innovations and advancements made by its competitors. What was once a revolutionary car had become a relic of the past, offering little in the way of excitement for buyers who were now expecting more modern features and better performance. Uninspired conservative styling. By 1940, the Ford V8 Deluxe's design was starting to feel old-fashioned. While Ford did make some updates to the car's appearance, they were minor compared to the more dramatic changes seen in other makes and models. The Deluxe had rounded fenders and a distinctive grille, but these elements were no longer cutting-edge by 1940 standards. The car's styling hadn't evolved significantly from its earlier models, and it didn't have the sleek, streamlined appearance that was becoming popular with brands like Chevrolet and Chrysler. Other manufacturers were embracing the Art Deco and streamlined modern aesthetics, with more aerodynamic shapes and smoother, more integrated designs. In contrast, the Ford V8 Deluxe looked boxy and conservative. The 1940 Deluxe bore a striking resemblance to the 1939 model, and many buyers felt that Ford had done little to update the car's look or features. This lack of evolution made the car feel stale and less exciting to consumers. The proportions of the Ford V8 Deluxe were less balanced than those of some of its competitors. The car's high roofline and short body gave it a slightly awkward, top-heavy appearance, and the design lacked the low, sweeping lines that were becoming more popular at the time. While the car included a few chrome accents and ornamental details, they did little to mask its overall lack of sophistication. Other brands were offering more elegant design touches, like integrated headlights, bolder grilles, and longer, more graceful bodies, making the V8 Deluxe feel dated by comparison. Although Ford's V8 engine had been groundbreaking in the 1930s, by 1940 it was no longer a standout feature. While it still offered decent performance for an affordable car, other manufacturers had introduced more powerful and efficient engines. Ford had not made significant advancements in engine technology, and the V8 Deluxe's engine now felt underpowered compared to newer models from Chevrolet, Buick, and Chrysler. The 221 cubic inch flathead V8 engine in the 1940 Deluxe produced around 85 horsepower, which, while sufficient in the early 1930s, was beginning to feel sluggish by 1940. Larger cars from other manufacturers were offering more powerful engines with smoother performance, leaving the Ford V8 Deluxe behind in terms of power and acceleration. The V8 engine, while reliable, wasn't particularly fuel efficient, especially for a car that was marketed to budget-conscious buyers. Other manufacturers were beginning to offer more fuel-efficient engines, and the Ford V8 Deluxe struggled to compete in this area. The handling of the 1940 Ford V8 Deluxe was also outdated. The suspension system, while functional, didn't offer the smooth ride that buyers were beginning to expect. Other brands had introduced more advanced suspension systems that provided better handling and a more comfortable driving experience. But Ford had not made significant updates to its own system. The ride quality of the V8 Deluxe was often described as bumpy and uncomfortable, particularly on rough roads. The car's suspension struggled to absorb shocks and vibrations, which made long drives less enjoyable for passengers. The car's steering was also less responsive than that of its competitors. It felt heavy and required more effort to maneuver, especially in tight spaces or when turning at low speeds. Other cars on the market were beginning to offer more refined, lighter steering systems that made driving easier and more enjoyable. The 1940 Ford V8 Deluxe was once a groundbreaking car, but by 1940 it had become outdated and unremarkable. Its conservative styling, underpowered engine, and lack of innovation made it less appealing compared to more modern competitors like the Chevrolet Master and Plymouth Deluxe. While Ford's V8 engine had once been revolutionary, by 1940 it was no longer enough to keep the Deluxe model competitive. As the automotive industry evolved, the Ford V8 Deluxe was left behind, a relic of the early 1930s that struggled to find relevance in the rapidly changing world of the 1940s. Number 8, the 1948 Ford Anglia was part of a long-running line of small economical cars that Ford of Britain introduced in the mid-1930s. Designed primarily for the British and Commonwealth markets, the Anglia was known for its compact size, basic engineering, and affordability. However, when Ford began importing the Anglia to the United States after World War II, the car faced significant challenges in adapting to the American market. Its small size, underpowered engine, and outdated design made it ill-suited for the larger, more powerful cars that dominated U.S. roads, ultimately leading to its failure as a practical option for American drivers. The Anglia was designed for the narrow, congested streets of Europe, where small cars with tight turning radii and modest power outputs made sense. In the United States, however, the Anglia's tiny dimensions, compared to the larger American sedans, made it feel inadequate. The Anglia had a minimalist design with a boxy shape, upright grille, and narrow body that looked out of place next to the longer, wider, and more stylish American sedans of the late 1940s. Its proportions were compact, with a high roofline and short wheelbase that gave it a stubby, toy-like appearance. While the Anglia's design was functional, it lacked the curves and chrome-heavy ornamentation that defined the post-war American automotive aesthetic. As American manufacturers embraced more streamlined, futuristic designs, the Anglia's utilitarian look seemed outdated and uninspiring. The 1948 Anglia was equipped with a 933 cubic centimeter inline-4 engine, producing just 24 horsepower. While this small engine was adequate for the slower speeds and shorter distances common in Europe, it was severely underpowered for American highways and long-distance driving. With such limited horsepower, the Anglia had trouble keeping up with the larger, more powerful American cars. Its acceleration was sluggish, and it struggled to reach speeds that were comfortable for highway driving. In an era when American cars were becoming larger and more powerful, the Anglia's performance fell far short of expectations. The Anglia's top speed was only around 60 to 65 miles per hour, and it took a long time to reach that speed. This made it impractical for American drivers who were used to cars with much stronger acceleration and higher top speeds. On long highways or in hilly areas, the Anglia's engine would strain, making it a frustrating vehicle to drive. In the UK, where shorter commutes and fuel efficiency were prioritized, the Anglia's small engine and modest power output were suitable. However, in the US, where long-distance driving and large highways were the norm, the Anglia's low power and lack of performance were serious drawbacks. The car's small size also made it less comfortable for long trips, and it wasn't particularly fuel efficient by American standards despite its size. The Anglia's handling and ride quality were also problematic for American drivers. The car had a simple, rigid axle suspension system that made for a rough ride on uneven roads. While this type of suspension was common in British cars of the time, it didn't compare favorably to the more advanced independent front suspensions that were becoming standard in American cars. The Anglia's small size and narrow wheelbase also contributed to a feeling of instability, especially at higher speeds. On wide American highways, the car could feel light and twitchy, making it harder to control at the speeds necessary for long-distance driving. The Anglia's steering was manual and required considerable effort, especially at lower speeds or when parking. Its braking system was also basic, using drum brakes that were less effective than the more advanced systems being developed in American cars. This made the Anglia less safe and more difficult to drive, particularly in emergency situations or on busy American roads. The 1948 Ford Anglia did not find much success in the U.S. market. It was largely overshadowed by larger, more powerful American cars, and its impracticality for American driving conditions meant that it never gained widespread popularity. While the Anglia had a following in the UK and other parts of the world, In the US, it remained a niche product, bought primarily by a small group of buyers who were looking for an inexpensive, no-frills car. However, even in this niche market, it struggled to compete with other budget-friendly options from American manufacturers. The failure of the Ford Anglia in the US market was a reminder that cars designed for one market could struggle in another. The Anglia's small size, weak engine, and lack of features made it unsuitable for the needs of American drivers, and it underscored the importance of designing cars that could meet the unique demands of different markets. Number 7. The 1946 Chevrolet Style Line was Chevrolet's attempt to quickly reintroduce a passenger car to the market after World War II, but it was essentially a pre-war model with minimal updates. As the United States transitioned from war production back to civilian goods, the auto industry scrambled to meet the pent-up demand for new cars. Unfortunately, the 1946 Style Line was largely a stopgap measure, and its recycled design and lackluster performance didn't satisfy buyers who were looking for modern innovation after the war. The 1946 Style Line was based on Chevrolet's pre-war models from the early 1940s. While this strategy was common among automakers right after the war, the Style Line felt particularly outdated because its body design was nearly identical to the 1942 Chevrolet Master Deluxe and Special Deluxe models. The Style Line had a boxy, utilitarian shape that lacked the sleek, modern styling that many consumers expected in the post-war era. Its fender-heavy, slab-sided look felt dated compared to the more streamlined designs that would emerge by the late 1940s and early 1950s. While some luxury brands like Cadillac began embracing the use of chrome and other embellishments after the war, the Style Line remained understated, with minimal chrome trim. This gave the car a plain and conservative appearance that failed to stand out in a market that was beginning to crave bold designs. The 1946 Style Line was powered by Chevrolet's trusty but uninspiring 216 cubic inch, 3.5-liter inline-six engine producing 90 horsepower. While reliable, this engine offered nothing new or exciting for the post-war consumer. With 90 horsepower, the Style Line was underpowered for its size, resulting in sluggish acceleration and poor highway performance. American buyers, accustomed to larger and more powerful engines, found the Style Line to be inadequate, especially as more advanced models from Ford and Chrysler began to hit the market. The engine, though mechanically sound, was a carryover from the early 1940s. It lacked the performance enhancements that other automakers were beginning to introduce, such as overhead valves or higher compression ratios. This made the Style Line feel slow and unrefined compared to newer cars that were being developed in the late 1940s. The Style Line used a basic suspension setup with a solid rear axle and leaf springs. While this was typical for cars of the time, it contributed to a bumpy and less comfortable ride compared to newer cars that began to adopt more advanced suspension systems. Handling was mediocre, with the car feeling heavy and unresponsive, especially during turns or at higher speeds. The steering was not as precise as it could have been, making the car feel cumbersome to maneuver. The lack of independent front suspension, which was beginning to be more common in other post-war models, meant that the Style Line's ride quality was not particularly smooth. The car tended to bounce and sway on uneven roads, which reduced driver and passenger comfort. The 1946 Style Line was a bare-bones car when it came to technology and features. While luxury cars were beginning to introduce innovations like automatic transmissions, power windows, and advanced heating systems, the Style Line offered very little in the way of new technology. The Style Line came with a 3-speed manual transmission, which was standard for the time. But by 1946, buyers were beginning to expect more modern conveniences like automatic transmissions. Chevrolet wouldn't introduce an automatic transmission until the 1950 Power Glide, leaving the 1946 Style Line feeling old-fashioned in comparison. The interior of the Style Line was basic and utilitarian, with simple materials and few comforts. It lacked the luxurious touches that were becoming more common in American cars, such as plush upholstery, advanced sound insulation, or even a decent heater. By today's standards, the Style Line was lacking in safety and comfort features. There were no seat belts, of course, and the car's body structure was not designed with crash protection in mind. The interior layout was simple, with basic gauges and controls, and there was little attention paid to ergonomics or passenger comfort. The 1946 Chevrolet Styleline was a recycled pre-war model that failed to capture the excitement or innovation that post-war buyers were seeking. With its outdated design, underpowered engine, and lack of modern features, it couldn't compete with the newer, more stylish, and better-performing cars that began to flood the market in the late 1940s. Though it served its purpose in helping Chevrolet restart production after World War II, the Styleline was quickly overshadowed and remains a largely forgotten chapter in Chevrolet's history. Number 6. The 1940 LaSalle Series 50 was part of Cadillac's effort to offer a more affordable luxury car, targeting buyers who desired the prestige associated with the Cadillac brand without the hefty price tag. However, despite its lineage, the Series 50 struggled to make a mark in a competitive market. It fell short in performance, styling, and overall appeal, contributing to LaSalle's eventual discontinuation just a few years later. The design of the 1940 LaSalle Series 50 was notably conservative and lacked the elegance that Cadillac customers expected. While it aimed to provide a more affordable option, the Series 50 failed to evoke the luxury and sophistication typically associated with the Cadillac name. The Series 50 had a bulky and somewhat clunky appearance. Its large size and heavy lines did not resonate with buyers looking for a sleek, stylish vehicle. The design felt more functional than aspirational, which hurt its appeal. Critics often noted that the styling of the Series 50 was too similar to lower-priced models from Chevrolet. This lack of distinctive features made it harder for the Series 50 to stand out in a crowded marketplace, filled with more visually striking options from other brands. The Series 50 was powered by a 322 cubic inch 5.3-liter L-head V8 engine producing only 125 horsepower. This engine was significantly less powerful compared to the more robust engines offered in Cadillac's other models. The engine's underwhelming power resulted in sluggish acceleration and a lack of responsiveness. Buyers seeking the performance expected from a Cadillac-branded vehicle were left disappointed, as the Series 50 struggled to compete with both luxury and non-luxury rivals. The heavy chassis combined with the weak engine resulted in subpar handling and overall driving dynamics. Drivers found the car cumbersome and lacking the agility one would expect from a vehicle bearing the Cadillac nameplate. The Series 50 did not offer the smooth, refined ride that luxury buyers anticipated. Its suspension setup was basic, leading to a ride that was often bumpy and uncomfortably harsh, especially on uneven surfaces. The steering feel was heavy and unresponsive, making the car less enjoyable to drive. Many drivers found themselves struggling to maneuver the Series 50, especially in tighter spaces or during parking. The handling characteristics were subpar, with a lack of feedback through the steering wheel. Drivers often felt disconnected from the road, diminishing the driving experience and contributing to overall dissatisfaction. The 1940 LaSalle Series 50 was lacking in modern conveniences and technological advancements. While luxury cars were beginning to introduce features such as power windows, power steering, and advanced sound insulation, the Series 50 felt basic by comparison. Most features were manual, with no options for power-assisted components. This left drivers with a less comfortable and convenient experience compared to rival models that offered more technological advancements. The interior design was functional but uninspired. The materials used were of average quality and didn't reflect the luxury image that LaSalle sought to maintain. The dashboard layout was simple and lacked the flair found in competitors' more modern and luxurious interiors. The 1940 LaSalle Series 50 faced intense competition from not only Cadillac, but also from other luxury and near-luxury brands like Lincoln, Buick, and Oldsmobile. As the market began to recover post-depression, buyers were more discerning and demanded more from their vehicles. Many consumers opted for the more powerful and stylish models offered by other brands. The Series 50 struggled to find a loyal customer base, and its lack of distinctive features or compelling performance hurt its sales. Ultimately, the Series 50's underperformance contributed to LaSalle's decline. By 1940, Cadillac had shifted its focus away from the LaSalle brand, leading to the discontinuation of LaSalle production after the 1940 model year. The 1940 LaSalle Series 50 is often viewed as a missed opportunity in Cadillac's history. It aimed to fill a niche in the luxury market, but fell short of expectations in almost every aspect, from performance to design. The disappointing performance and poor reception of the Series 50 played a significant role in the decision to discontinue LaSalle altogether in 1940. This marked the end of a brand that had once aimed to bridge the gap between mainstream and luxury automobiles. Today, the 1940 LaSalle Series 50 is often forgotten among classic cars. Its lack of unique features and the overshadowing presence of more successful models make it a less sought-after collector's item. The 1940 LaSalle Series 50 represented a low point for a brand that aimed to capture the luxury market without the hefty price tag associated with Cadillac. With its uninspired design, underpowered engine, and lack of modern features, the 1947 Chevrolet Fleetline was a post-war model that aimed to combine style and practicality, but it ended up disappointing many consumers. With its awkward design, lackluster performance, and heavy build, the Fleetline struggled to attract buyers in a market increasingly focused on innovation and excitement. The Fleetline featured a fastback silhouette that was meant to be sleek and modern, but often came off as awkward. Many buyers found the styling unappealing compared to the more traditional sedan shapes offered by competitors. The heavy bodywork made the car appear bulkier than it actually was, contributing to a less dynamic presence on the road. The lines lacked the elegance that other manufacturers were introducing during this era of automotive design. The color palette offered for the Fleetline was not as vibrant or varied as what was available from competitors, making it less visually appealing and further contributing to its uninspired image. Weighing more than many of its contemporaries, the Fleetline was burdened by its heavy construction. This impacted its overall performance, leading to sluggish acceleration and a generally unresponsive driving experience. The Fleetline was equipped with a 216 cubic inch, 3.5-liter, inline-six engine producing around 90 horsepower. This power output was inadequate for a vehicle of its size, resulting in disappointing performance on the road. The combination of its heavy body and underpowered engine led to subpar handling. Drivers often felt disconnected from the road, making for a less engaging driving experience. Despite its size, the Fleetline did not provide the comfortable ride that buyers expected. Its heavy construction contributed to a harsher driving experience, particularly on rough roads. The suspension system was basic and did not absorb bumps well, leading to a bumpy ride. This further diminished the appeal of the Fleetline as a family car or a long-distance vehicle. The heavy engine and body often resulted in increased noise and vibration within the cabin, detracting from the overall driving experience and making it feel less refined. The post-war automotive market was becoming increasingly competitive, with many manufacturers introducing innovative models with modern features and designs. The Fleetline struggled to keep pace. In a time when consumers were seeking new, exciting vehicles, the Fleetline's design and performance felt outdated. Buyers were looking for vehicles that reflected the optimism of the post-war era, and the Fleetline did not deliver. The combination of its unappealing design, weak performance, and stiff competition resulted in disappointing sales numbers. Many potential buyers turned to more exciting and modern options from other brands. The 1947 Chevrolet Fleetline is often overlooked in discussions of classic cars from the late 1940s. Its lack of standout features and poor reception mean it doesn't hold a prominent place in automotive history. The Fleetline's shortcomings impacted Chevrolet's reputation in the immediate post-war market, as buyers expected more from a brand that had previously been synonymous with innovation and style. The 1947 Chevrolet Fleetline aimed to combine practicality with modern design, but ultimately fell short. Its awkward styling, heavy body, and underpowered performance made it a less-than-ideal choice in a market ripe for new, exciting offerings. As a result, the Fleetline is often remembered as an uninspired model that struggled to compete during a transformative time in the automotive industry. The 1941 Packard 120 was introduced as an entry-level luxury model in an effort to attract more buyers to the Packard brand. However, it quickly became clear that this vehicle fell short of the expectations set by Packard's reputation for quality and luxury. With its lackluster performance and uninspired design, the 120 failed to live up to the prestige associated with the Packard name. The design of the Packard 120 was rather bland and lacked the iconic styling elements that defined higher-end Packard models. This led to a perception that it was just another generic car rather than a distinguished luxury vehicle. While the Packard 120 was a respectable-looking sedan, it didn't stand out in a crowded market filled with more stylish offerings from competitors. Its design lacked the flair and innovation that many consumers sought during this era. The smaller size of the 120 compared to other Packard models detracted from the luxury feel that buyers expected from the brand, making it feel more like a mid-range vehicle rather than a true luxury car. The Packard 120 was equipped with a 282 cubic inch 4.6-liter inline 8 engine producing around 120 horsepower. This power was inadequate for a luxury vehicle, leading to a sluggish driving experience that disappointed many buyers. Drivers often noted that the 120 struggled to accelerate, making it less responsive in everyday driving conditions. This lack of power detracted from the overall driving enjoyment and experience expected from a Packard. The heavy construction of the car, combined with its underpowered engine, resulted in a lack of agility. Handling was less than ideal, and the driving experience felt cumbersome rather than refined. While the Packard 120 was designed to be a comfortable ride, many owners found it fell short in this area. The combination of a heavy body and a less sophisticated suspension system led to a less than smooth ride. The ride quality was not as plush as one would expect from a luxury vehicle, leading to dissatisfaction among consumers who valued comfort and luxury. The Packard 120 also suffered from higher noise levels in the cabin compared to competitors, detracting from the serene driving experience often associated with luxury cars. The Packard 120 faced stiff competition from other luxury brands such as Cadillac and Lincoln, which offered more powerful engines and better design elements. This made it difficult for the 120 to carve out a significant niche in the market. As a result of its shortcomings, the Packard 120 didn't achieve the sales numbers that were expected. Many potential buyers were turned off by its lack of performance and the perceived downgrade from traditional Packard models. The introduction of the 120 and its failure to meet expectations raised concerns about the direction of the Packard brand. Longtime customers worried that the company was compromising its luxury status by diluting its offerings with lower-cost models. The 1941 Packard 120 is often viewed as a model that straddled the line between entry-level luxury and traditional prestige. While it did introduce some buyers to the Packard brand, it also tarnished the reputation of what was once a symbol of luxury and refinement. While the 120 is sometimes remembered by enthusiasts, it's often overshadowed by Packard's more illustrious models that embody the brand's rich history and commitment to quality. The 1941 Packard 120 represented an ambitious attempt to expand the Packard lineup into the more affordable luxury market, but it ultimately fell short. With its underpowered engine, uninspired design, and lack of the refinement expected from the Packard name, the 120 struggled to resonate with consumers. It serves as a reminder of the challenges luxury brands face when trying to appeal to a broader audience while maintaining their prestigious image. Number 3. The 1949 Lincoln Cosmopolitan was positioned as a luxury vehicle that aimed to embody elegance and sophistication. However, it fell short in several key areas, leading to its perception as a poorly designed and unreliable car. Its hefty size, awkward styling, and mechanical problems combined to create a vehicle that left many potential buyers unimpressed. The Cosmopolitan's design was marked by bulkiness, with an elongated body that many critics found awkward and unappealing. Its large dimensions made it visually imposing, but the overall aesthetic lacked the grace and finesse expected from a luxury car. Many buyers were put off by its ungainly profile. Unlike some of its contemporaries, which featured sleek and stylish lines, the Cosmopolitan did not capture the imagination of consumers. Instead, it appeared more like an outdated design in a time when streamlined aesthetics were becoming the norm. The 1949 Lincoln Cosmopolitan was powered by a 336 cubic inch 5.5-liter V8 engine producing around 152 horsepower. This output was inadequate for a vehicle of its size and luxury classification. Many drivers noted that the Cosmopolitan struggled to deliver the power expected from a luxury vehicle, resulting in lackluster acceleration and performance on the road. The car's hefty build compromised its agility and handling, making it cumbersome to maneuver, particularly in tight spaces or urban environments. While the Cosmopolitan was marketed as a luxury car, many owners found the ride quality to be disappointing. The suspension system did not effectively absorb bumps and imperfections in the road, leading to a less than smooth driving experience. The cabin also suffered from higher noise levels than competitors, detracting from the serene atmosphere typically expected in a luxury vehicle. This impacted the overall comfort level, which was crucial for luxury buyers. Although the Cosmopolitan was large, the interior space did not utilize the size effectively. Passengers often found themselves cramped, particularly in the rear seats, which failed to provide the comfort expected from a high-end sedan. The Cosmopolitan was plagued by various mechanical problems, which severely impacted its reputation among buyers. Issues ranged from engine performance to electrical failures, leading to dissatisfaction and frustration among owners. The build quality of the Cosmopolitan was questioned, as many vehicles experienced reliability issues that were not typical for luxury brands. This lack of dependability turned potential buyers away, especially those seeking a reliable vehicle. As reports of reliability issues circulated, the Cosmopolitan's image suffered significantly, leading to decreased sales and consumer interest. The Lincoln Cosmopolitan was competing against a range of luxury vehicles, including offerings from Cadillac and Chrysler, which had better reputations for quality, performance, and design. The combination of its bulky design, underwhelming performance, and reliability problems contributed to disappointing sales figures. Many potential buyers were drawn to competitors that offered more attractive options in the luxury market. As a result of these shortcomings, the Cosmopolitan is often viewed as a low point in Lincoln's history, tarnishing the brand's reputation during a critical period of post-war automotive innovation. The 1949 Lincoln Cosmopolitan aimed to be a symbol of luxury and sophistication, but ultimately fell short on multiple fronts. Its cumbersome design, lack of performance, and reliability issues led to a poor reception among consumers. As a result, the Cosmopolitan serves as an example of the challenges luxury automakers face in maintaining their prestige while trying to innovate and appeal to a broader audience. This model's legacy is largely characterized by missed opportunities and an inability to resonate with buyers in a competitive market. The 1941 Plymouth P12 Special Deluxe was intended to be a step up in the Plymouth lineup, designed to attract buyers looking for a comfortable and reliable sedan. However, it quickly became evident that the P12 Special Deluxe fell short in multiple areas, leading to its perception as a forgettable and uninspired vehicle. Its lack of innovation in design and performance made it struggle to compete against more appealing post-war models. The P12 Special Deluxe featured a design that lacked excitement and flair, characterized by a boxy and conventional shape that did little to distinguish it from other cars of the era. With a focus on functionality over style, the Special Deluxe appeared plain, failing to capture the attention of buyers looking for something more visually appealing. This design choice made it blend into the background of the automotive landscape. Compared to the more dynamic designs emerging in the post-war era, the P12 seemed outdated even upon its release. It lacked the sleek lines and innovative features that many consumers desired. The P12 Special Deluxe was equipped with a 217.8 cubic inch 3.6-liter flathead six-cylinder engine that produced around 95 horsepower. While adequate for basic transportation, this powertrain did not inspire excitement or enthusiasm among drivers. The engine's modest output meant that the car struggled with acceleration and overall performance. This lack of power left drivers wanting more, especially when compared to rivals that offered sportier and more powerful options. The handling of the P12 was often described as uninspiring. It lacked the responsiveness and agility that drivers expected, particularly in a time when performance began to gain importance. Inside, the P12 Special Deluxe offered a straightforward, no-frills cabin that prioritized practicality over luxury. While it was spacious enough for passengers, it lacked the refinement and comfort features found in competing models. The lack of modern conveniences and amenities made the driving experience feel lacking compared to newer cars that were beginning to hit the market post-war. Buyers found themselves wishing for upgrades that had become standard in many competing vehicles. The car also suffered from higher noise levels in the cabin, which detracted from the overall comfort of the ride. This was particularly noticeable during highway driving, where the sound of the engine and road noise became intrusive. As the post-war automotive landscape began to change, the P12 Special Deluxe struggled to keep pace. The rise of more modern designs and powerful engines meant that this model quickly faded into obscurity. Competitors like Chevrolet and Ford were introducing exciting new designs and more powerful engines that captivated the market. The P12's outdated styling and lack of performance left it vulnerable to being overshadowed. As buyers flocked to more innovative and stylish options, the P12 Special Deluxe became an afterthought, contributing to Plymouth's struggle to regain its footing in the automotive market after the war. The 1941 Plymouth P12 Special Deluxe aimed to be a solid family car, but its uninspired design, mediocre performance, and lack of modern features led to its quick decline in popularity. As the automotive landscape evolved, the Special Deluxe was unable to keep up, making it a footnote in the history of Plymouth. It serves as a reminder of the importance of innovation and appeal in a competitive market, highlighting how quickly a car can become irrelevant when it fails to adapt to changing consumer preferences. Number 1. The 1947 Fraser Manhattan aimed to position itself as a mid-range luxury vehicle, but it ultimately failed to resonate with consumers in the post-war automotive market. With a design that felt outdated and a performance that didn't justify its price, the Manhattan struggled to find its place among more innovative competitors. The design of the Fraser Manhattan was characterized by its boxy and bulky shape, which many consumers found unappealing. In an era when sleek, streamlined designs were becoming the norm, the Manhattan's clunky appearance felt stuck in the past, failing to attract buyers looking for something contemporary. The overall detailing and finishes were basic and didn't convey the luxury image that Fraser attempted to project. This lack of refinement made it hard to compete with more stylish offerings from other manufacturers. The Manhattan was powered by a 226 cubic inch, 3.7-liter flathead six-cylinder engine that produced around 125 horsepower. While adequate for daily driving, it lacked the power and responsiveness that buyers expected in a luxury car. The car's performance was described as sluggish, with insufficient power for highway, merging, and passing. This left drivers feeling frustrated and dissatisfied, especially when compared to competitors offering more robust engines. The handling of the Manhattan was often criticized for being cumbersome. The heavy body and soft suspension resulted in a lack of agility, detracting from the overall driving experience. Inside, the Fraser Manhattan offered a spacious cabin, but lacked the luxury touches that buyers anticipated. The interior design was functional but plain, missing modern conveniences that were becoming standard in other mid-range luxury vehicles. Buyers noted a lack of high-quality materials and thoughtful design elements that could elevate the driving experience. While there was ample room, the seats were not particularly supportive or comfortable for long drives, leading to an overall disappointing interior experience. The Manhattan launched into a market already filled with appealing options from brands like Ford, Chevrolet, and Chrysler, all of which offered more innovative designs and better performance at similar price points. With its outdated design and lack of competitive features, the Manhattan failed to capture consumer interest, resulting in disappointing sales figures. As automotive preferences shifted towards more dynamic and stylish vehicles, the Fraser Manhattan quickly became irrelevant, leading to a decline in brand reputation. The 1947 Fraser Manhattan aimed to attract consumers looking for a mid-range luxury vehicle, but ultimately fell short due to its clunky design, mediocre performance, and lack of modern features. In a rapidly evolving automotive market, it struggled to compete with more innovative and appealing options, leading to its quick decline in popularity and leaving it as a cautionary tale about the importance of adaptation and innovation in the industry.